Thank you, Janice. And welcome everybody to our October meeting. Just get this to advance. So with our land acknowledgement, the Durham Region branch of Ontario Ancestors acknowledges that the lands on which we gather and where we work to preserve the records and family history of those who came before us are the traditional territories of the Mississaugas of Scugog Island First Nation, the Chippewas of Georgina Island First Nation, and a large Métis community. We recognize the lands on which we gather are covered under the Williams Treaties and rest within the traditional territory of the Mississaugas, a branch of the Anishinaabe Nation, which also includes Algonquin, Chippewa, Ottawa, Ojibwe, and Potawatomi. We honor, recognize, and respect these nations and Indigenous peoples as the traditional stewards of the lands and waters on which we meet. So this is our agenda for tonight. We'll do a few announcements, news. I think we have one business item. Then we'll get to myself and Steve with our guide to Durham Region Research. Back to upcoming meetings and chat if time permits. So first, many thanks to the Simcoe County branch for graciously sharing their Zoom account with the Durham Region branch. You may have noticed that when you registered, you received the confirmation emails from Simcoe County branch. This indeed is okay. You just need to read the title of the event, where you will always see the word Durham at the beginning. This is because we're now sharing. The branch's annual general meeting will be held during our virtual November 4th meeting for the purpose of giving reports on our past 12 months of activity and for the request of volunteers to join the team at the branch. Well, everyone, time is catching up to me since I am now in my mid-70s, and I have decided that I need time to start tidying up my own genealogical legacy in order to hand it down to someone in my family. But I won't be going away. I will continue doing the program and helping with updating the cemeteries. If you want to hear what is included in being the chair, please contact me. And if you're scared about being chair, which, by the way, has got to be the easiest part of the things that I do, consider being the vice chair for a year to find out what we do at Durham Region Branch. In fact, contact me if there's any other job that you're interested in. At this point, I'd like to call on Sheila Iacono, our treasurer, to open her mic and give her report. I hope she's here.
I'm here, Nancy.
Oh, good. So here's the slide.
Thank you. So my report for this time is for the third quarter, from July 1st to September 30th. Our current balance in the account is $1,956.61. Over the 3 months, we had deposits, which were both from quarter two, for a total of $366. And we will be getting deposits for the third quarter, but they, again, will come probably in the next couple of weeks and will be deposited in the fourth quarter. So we will get a GST rebate of $9.25, plus any e-store sales, membership fees, or donations, which I have no figures on as yet. Our withdrawals were $1,399.90. Our guest speaker for our meeting in September, the venue for the family tree maker tour, our service charges for 3 months, and our rent and internet for 3 months. So that leaves us again with that balance of $1,956.61. That's it.
Thank you, Sheila.
Thank you.
It's nice to know we're still a little bit solvent.
A little bit.
Just as an item of news, we have, as a branch, requested a table at the Clarington Heritage Fair, which will be held at the Bowmanville Library on Saturday, November the 1st at 1:30 p.m. Come on out and join us to chat. We really like to meet and talk to everybody who comes to our meetings, but we just don't have a chance to see your smiling faces. So here's a bit of news as well. Kudos to Toronto branch. They've digitized the original microfiche and placed it online at the Internet Archives for the Ontario Land Records Index. As it says here, it's an old friend to family historians, and I used it 30 years ago. And it's going to be great to have it right up there on archive.org. And you'll hear more about that in our talk tonight. And we've got news from Kawartha branch that is based in Peterborough. So their meeting is this Thursday afternoon at 1 p.m. via the Peterborough Library's Zoom. Christine Woodcock will be speaking on Removing the Rebels, Peter Robinson's settlement scheme. And when she's talking about rebels, she's talking about the rebels in Ireland. Okay. And also, on a further note, on October 18th, Saturday, October 18th, Kawartha branch will be having their 50th anniversary celebration, which is totally amazing. Again, at the Peterborough Public Library, and cake and refreshments are involved. So if you, feel like helping them celebrate, there's the place to be, Peterborough Public Library. And speaking of anniversaries, it seems to be anniversary season right now. The Uxbridge Genealogy Group is celebrating 25 years, and they're asking us to bring along heirlooms to show and tell. They're going to have cake too. And they also suggested that we bring our own mugs. So obviously, liquid refreshments are included. Now, we did this a couple of years ago, and we're going to try it again. We're going to do a virtual show and tell and Christmas social. This is online only. It's not too early for you to think about something that you want to present this year. Anything can be shown: photos, medals, heirlooms, a tricky piece of research, or even a plea for help. The online drawback is that holding items up to a web camera is not clear enough for the participants. So I'm asking you to please send images to me ahead of time at the email address on the slide there. So our main presentation will start in a minute. First, I will just do the bios of the two speakers. Stephen Wood started with a grade 8 family history project and has been expanding his research ever since. He is one of the founding members of the Durham Region branch and has held many positions in the branch ever since its start in 1982. Currently, he heads the research team as well as managing the branch office and library, along with his wife, Lori. Now, I started family history in my teens while trying to figure out how the various aunts and uncles were related to me. We would visit my mother's family in the summer, and I can't tell you how many aunts and uncles. But I only had one uncle. Mom had one brother. Dad was an only child. What it turns out is they were her and his aunts and uncles, so great aunts and uncles. But not only that, they were the aunts and uncles of my mother's first cousins and my dad's second cousins. So how was a person supposed to know? So now I am currently the chair of the Durham Region branch. I've held various positions both on the OGS board and in the branch over the years. So I'm going to stop sharing and let Steve bring up the PowerPoint. Thank you.
Okie dokie. All yours.
Thank you. So we both can't show screens, so Steve is the screen turner. So I just want to mention that in a few minutes, I will be putting the handout into the chat, and it will contain all the URLs that we will be mentioning in this presentation. So, and I have to say right now, hang on to your hats. This is a whirlwind tour of Durham Region research. So we've tried to include a lot of stuff. So next slide, Steve. So our branch was formed in 1982. Originally, it was called Whitby-Oshawa, but it was changed in the early 2000s to actually reflect the area that we cover in the province, which is the current region of Durham. So it covers Pickering, Uxbridge, West Whitby, East Whitby, Reach, Scugog, Brock, Thora, Darlington, Clark, and Cartwright townships. We have back issues of our news letter in the Durham Region members only section of our website for our members. And most of our cemeteries were transcribed 1980s, 1990s. So we're now in the process of trying to update them. Our library is open for in-person research, or we will undertake some research for you and some lookups. We are open Tuesdays and Thursday mornings, 10:30 to 1:30. But you must make an appointment if you want an alternate date. And you must make an appointment because the front door of the church is locked and we won't hear you on the third floor. So we need to know when you're going to be there so we can be ready to let you in. Next, Steve. So this is what the Durham region looks like today after various townships have been amalgamated together. So Uxbridge includes the old oh, that's right. My pointer's not going to do anything. Thank you, Steve. So Uxbridge is now composed of Uxbridge and the Old Scott Township. Pickering and Ajax occupy Pickering Township. Whitby is the same, or West Whitby, if you want to call it that. East Whitby is now incorporated into the city of Oshawa. Scugog now includes Reach, Scugog, and Cartwright townships. And Clarington is a combination of Clark and Darlington Township. And they smushed it together, make the word Clarington. Next, Steve. So I've put together county timeline history. I'm not going to go over it. It is in your handout. The reason I am put this together was it will help you with your location terms when you start doing research. So for instance, you might find Old Ontario County under York County. It was part of the home district until 1849. And Durham County was part of the old home district until 1802 when the Newcastle district was formed. Another one that we found quite by chance is when you're searching for records for Durham County, you need to look under Northumberland because it's United Counties of Northumberland and Durham. So knowing these little bits may help you with your location research. And I think that's extremely important to know. Next, Steve. So here's a quick outline of what we'll be presenting today. As you can see, it's very ambitious. And it's over to you, Steve.
Okay, just our usual items here, census and assessment records. The Upper Canada Census of 1842 is available on Family Search. Mainly the Newcastle District portion has survived for our area. Cartwright, Clark, and Darlington and Manvers apparently are on Real C-1344 from Library and Archives Canada. Cavan and Hope Township were on Real M-7743 from the Archives of Ontario. Unfortunately, the East York, Ontario County portion was, according to the catalog, says partially nominal and not included in this database per the Library and Archives Canada. So the names did not survive for Ontario County, unfortunately. The 1851 census, we have some items missing for that. Cavan and Port Hope are missing, the town of Port Hope. Darlington, Clark, and Hope Townships are incomplete, and some of the agricultural census returns are missing. For Ontario County in 1851, the town of Oshawa is missing, and most of Reach Township is missing. Brock and Scott Townships are incomplete, and some of the agricultural census returns are missing. Luckily, for 1861, most of the townships are complete as far as the personal and agricultural census returns go. So we lucked out on that one. From 1871 to 1931 is available to the public. 1871 was a huge one with 9 schedules in total, and it survives for Durham Region or Old Ontario and Old Durham counties. 1881 and 1891 are just the personal censuses that are available, and the other ones vary past that, but generally they're more complete after 1891. And now for some early ones. There are some URLs in the handout for these census returns. Unfortunately, the ones I'm going to mention first have been timing out on us, so we're not sure what's happening with those. But early census returns for Ontario County in the home district, Whitby and Pickering Townships run from 1803 to 1805 and 1807. There's also one for Whitby Township in 1822, which is the picture on your screen here. There was also a list of settlers who first came in 1796. I call them the Henry Smith settlers, or 12 families, and they settled along the lakeshore, mainly in Whitby Township. We published an article in our Kindred Spirits newsletter in the fall 1999 issue called 12 Families, Smith Settlers of 1796. And that included Henry Smith, his sons John and Benjamin, his son-in-law John McGahan, William Jones and his son-in-law John Titus, Isaac Smith, who appears to have no relation to Henry, Adam, David, and John Stevens, James Hanna, and David Lloyd. And I got to press a button. Okay, census and assessment records for Durham County in the Newcastle District. We are very fortunate there. They start about 1803 and run to 1850 for Darlington, Clark, and Hope Townships. They are broken runs, so there's not every year, but it does very well. Cavan begins in 1819, Manvers Township in 1835, and Cartwright in 1837. The early ones usually list the head of the household, males under 16, males over 16, females under 16, and females over 16. The one exception is the 1824 census of Darlington Township, where the actual ages are given in all of the groups, just no names, but you can much easily build out a family outline when you know the different ages of the kids and whether they're male or female. These Newcastle District Census and Assessment returns are available on microfilm at the Archives of Ontario. They're in our branch library, and there are a few other locations with them as well. I don't know of it being online at this time. There is a couple of substitute census lists for 1799 for Hope Township. One Hope Township list is located in the book, The History of the Township of Hope by Harold Reeve in 1967, which was published by the Cobourg Sentinel Star in Cobourg, Ontario. The other one is an Upper Canada land petition, and there may even be two Upper Canada land petitions, and probably one was based on, the book was based on one of them, and I believe Peter Bolton's website will give you a link to those. And there. Okay, and we have a few later census and assessment records here. Because the 1851 census of Oshawa is missing, we thought we were out of luck. But the St. John's Church in Port Whitby extracted all the West Whitby, East Whitby, and Oshawa entries that listed the Anglican religion beside the person's entry in the census return. So, thus preserving a little portion of the Oshawa census return. There's the picture is what you get. It's just names, but they're all in a row, so you can kind of build up a family that way. You can see Jane Campbell. Well, I can't even read the next one. So, anyways, the Campbells are all lumped together as a family, and then they go on from there. For the two Lees are there, etc. There was something at the Trent University Archives in one of their lists called the Newcastle District Census and Assessment. And it appears to be a kind of a supplement to the microfilm because it lists the different later records of census and assessment, especially assessment, that that exist. I'm not sure if it links to the actual records. I don't think it does, but at least you will know what survives out there. Of vital statistics. What? Okay, I gotta flip a page here. Oh, no, this is off to you. Yeah.
Yeah.
What I was worried about.
Yeah. Okay. So, the home district marriage registers, well, the marriage registers do go before the current province-wide civil registration. And they're broken into when there were only districts being the government bodies. That was before 1810 to the 1850s, 58, 57. Then the government changed over to county government. And so the marriage registers became county marriage registers from 1858 to 1869, which was when the civil registration for the whole province of Ontario began. I'm not going to say it's complete because some of the early years pretty sketchy. So the surrounding areas should also be checked. So Colborne District, Victoria County, Simcoe County, York County, Northumberland County, etc. So if you're searching for a marriage pre-1869, remember to do a broad reach in your research. The civil registration births are 1869 to 1918. And I'm going to show that in the next slide. So many of the records are on Ancestry or FamilySearch.org, but not always up to the latest date. And there is a special set of records, bastardy affidavits, and they are available at the Archives of Ontario. They're not online. The Newcastle District, 1837 to 1849, and the United Counties of Northumberland and Durham, 1850 to 1861, were transcribed and published by Linda and Gary Korup in a book called Really and Truly the Father, Volume 1. And you can purchase that, or you can come see it in our library, because we did purchase it. Next slide, Steve. So this is the listing of where you can get some of these records. The Archives of Ontario obviously have the most recent ones, right up to what's been open to the public. Births to 1918, marriages to 1943, and deaths to 1953. Family Search has a bunch, and of course that's free. The 1869 to 1912 births are basically just an index. The marriages only go to 1927, and the deaths go to 1937, then skip over to the overseas deaths for the soldiers in World War II, 1939 to 1947. Ancestry is a little more complete. They're a year behind the Archives of Ontario. But of course, if you want to do it at home, you have to pay for a record subscription with them. But if you don't mind going to the library, most libraries in Southern Ontario have the Ancestry Library Edition, so you can go search their computers to actually see the actual registrations. These are registrations. These are not certificates. Next, Steve. So, church records. We do have a few transcriptions of local parish registers, very few Anglican. These are mainly United Church and some Presbyterian. Some additional records for the early time period may be found in the St. James Cathedral Anglican Church records published by the Toronto branch on microfiche in 1990 and 1991. There's also the marriage register of Reverend William Jenkins of Richmond Hill, 1819 to 1843. This is a Presbyterian minister. It contains a few entries for Ontario County residents as well. And Steve is saying to go over to the Bill Martin's genealogy pages URL in the handout. The Wesleyan Methodist Baptismal Register is also available online, and that's in the handout. As well, we've got a few others we've got in the library, including Kawartha's newsletter from February 2000 to November 2008, and that's the Anglican marriages in the Ida in Cavan Township church. Ida is a little village in Cavan Township. So next one, Steve. And cemeteries, we have some interment records, especially for the Bowmanville Cemetery, and a copy of some of the earlier burial books for the Union Cemetery in Oshawa. We have some sexton's maps of interments and maps of plot owners for occasional cemeteries in Durham Region. We have transcribed, as of the 1980s and 90s, every known monument in Durham Region. We are slowly updating these records, and for your information, we managed to update 5 cemeteries this summer. Of course, now we're into the hard part of the project, which is getting them typed and double checked and published up online. So they will be coming. And at this point, I think we're over to you, Steve.
Okay. Well, we're going to talk a little bit about land records. In general, a couple of the common places to look for them are on familysearch.org or on onland.ca. They're a lot easier to use if you know the concession and lot number for where you're searching. Sources for locating early concession and lot numbers include directories and cadastral maps. Wills often mention the location of a person's land, as do many census and assessment returns. Of course, you can also go through the pages of the abstract index page by page, or through the township papers page by page, and make sure you got a month or two to spend to do that, unless you're really lucky. Okay, also, I should mention the new familysearch.org full text search. That program may also provide locations. That is becoming more and more helpful every day, and a lot of Ontario land records are listed in this full text search now. So that will definitely make our life a little bit easier as we go along. And breaking news, another source can be the Ontario Land Records Ontario Land Records Index. The Ontario Land Records microfiche were useful for finding original settlers and their lot and concession. Kudos to the Toronto branch, who just announced a few weeks ago that they have digitized the complete original microfiche of the Ontario Land Records Index. It was originally the microfiches were originally produced by the Archives of Ontario staff over 45 years ago, and copies were placed in Ontario libraries. These records include fiats, warrants, grants, Peter Robinson settlers, sales of crown, clergy, and school reserves, as well as military land grants. Our library happens to own the name portion of the old microfiche if you're in our area. However, you can go to archive.org/details/Ontario Land Records Index and look them up a much easier way now. All on your computer, sitting in your pajamas at home, having your coffee. Searching land records can be fun and it can be difficult. To search the land records, the best way to do it is to get the instrument number from the first column in the abstract index, and then you copy the registration date from the fourth column of the date of registry, and then you search through the appropriate land records county and township to find the correct, I'll call it a film. Now, if the instrument numbers are illegible or cut off by the book binding, try the other source. If you're using familysearch.org, try OnLand, because quite often they use two different books that were microfilmed and digitized. There's going to be an image a little bit later in this presentation just to give you a quick idea, although we're not going to get into it in any depth. This is just kind of an example of OnLand website. You can see the header there, what it looks like. To get to the older records, choose the historical books, then your location. For instance, Durham Region is LRO 40, which stands for Land Record Office 40. Then choose the book category, and then click Search Books. Apparently, there's a way to search by maps. I've put the URL there, but I've never done it, so I'm not going to go into that at all. But you definitely want the historical books for any of the older records that are down there. Other sources for locations of land records can be Upper Canada land petitions, the original Ontario land grants, which we just mentioned about the new exciting advance by Toronto branch. Township papers. Some early land records were filed with the York County records when they were part of the home district, and some early Durham land records were filed in with the Northumberland County records when they were part of the Newcastle district. Upper Canada land petitions index and records are available on the Library and Archives Canada website, no charge. And let's see now. I find the land records are easier to search on familysearch.org through their catalog using a country, province, and county headings. Then under land and property, then under the abstract index, choose your township or town, etc. They're filed by concession and then by lot number. That's why it's always best to know what location you're looking for. And once you've got your number of instrument and the data registry from the abstract index, you can go to the land records of whichever county you're looking in, for instance, Ontario County, and then locate the actual document in the copybook. I'll have a slide for this a little bit later. The township papers, which are filed by township, concession, and then the lot number, are accessed from the catalog by choosing the country of Canada, the province of Ontario, and then land and property category. Township papers circa 1783 to 1870s will come up further down in the entries, and that would be on familysearch.org. And of course, again, full text search results may bring you up some excellent results as well. Going into directories, another source for lot and concession numbers. We are very fortunate in Ontario County to have quite a few helpful early directories. 1836-37, City of Toronto and Home District Commercial Directory by George Walton. 1846-47, Brown's Toronto City and Home District Directory by George Brown. 1850-51, Inhabitants of York County 1850 was produced by Norman K. Crowder, and he extracted that from the York County portion of Roussell's City of Toronto and County of York directory for 1850-51. Okay, these all list names with the lot and concession numbers. Again, best for rural, not quite often as helpful in cities. There's also a 53-54 Canada directory, which names the professional and businessmen of the cities and towns. A 57 Canada directory by John Lovell, and that the Ontario portion was published as the Directory of the Province of Ontario in 1857 with a gazetteer by Thomas B. Wilson and Emily B. Wilson in 1987. Luckily, surviving is Mitchell and Company's Gazetteer and Directory for Ontario, 1866. I believe that is the sample of the directory on the page. You can, I don't know how well it's showing up on your screens, but it gives you a lot and a concession number. And beside it, it says F or H for farm or house, etc., etc. So that one is a little more detailed. There's also the 1869 Connor and Coltson's, the County of Ontario directory. Those two, the 1866 and 69, are available on our website under the resources. There's also an 1871 directory that is available. It's from Collections Canada, and many others. For some of the more recent ones, you can see the Oshawa Public Library catalog. They have directories listed from 1921 to 1969, many of them online. And they also have a 1916-17 Ontario and Durham Counties Vernon's Farmers and Business Directory, as well as a 1911 Oshawa Business Directory. We own many of these early directories as well. Check our library catalog. we had a donation of some very early directories to the branch. And they are originals. They're not reproductions or anything. They are originals, so we have to be very careful of them. And the handout does have a more complete list of the local directories. And you can see another one down at the bottom of the page there too. And also hard copies, or we have some of the hard copies of the Vernon's directories in our branch library. Kind of the start, we've got a few starting in 1930s and upwards from there. Whitby is actually part of the Oshawa directory after 1960. So it was published within the same book. FamilySearch.org has been recording and scanning and publishing these records on their website. If you go in and search Vernon Directory Oshawa, it should pop up for you. Or OGS has a link on their website, ogs.on.ca, under other indexes. That will take you directly to them as well. And okay, where are we? Sorry. Way ahead of myself here. Okay, wills, the fun ones. As far as I'm concerned, there are 5 primary locations for wills, plus miscellaneous sources. FamilySearch.org has the majority of these records available online or through a library affiliate, as some are restricted. The records themselves usually have an index associated with them. And of course, the Archives of Ontario has the originals as well. So we have Court of Probate. We have Surrogate Court, 1793 to 1858. It was a microfiche publication by OGS. As far as these are just indexes I'm talking about. Surrogate Court, 1859 to recent. Published county indexes were done to 1900. General registers, which are organized by county, and abstract index or mixed in with the land records, they're organized by township. I have a little example coming up there. The Ontario County General Register was published as a series in our Kindred Spirits newsletter up to 1890 approximately. I know there's the odd will in the Eyre and Devizes Commission papers as well, and undoubtedly there's lots more locations. Here's a sample of a couple of the indexes that are out there. The Surrogate Court Records Index on microfiche, Court of Probate. But again, FamilySearch.org has microfilms of the original, and usually they have an index associated with them. Okay, this is just kind of an example of the page that will come up if you go to FamilySearch.org in their catalog for Ontario County. This is under the Land and Property heading. And as you can see, the abstract index books that we talked about are available. The general registers, 1854 to 1878 with an index, are available. Land records of Ontario County, 1798 to 1904, are available. So when you use the abstract index book to get your date and deed number, then you go to the Land Records of Ontario County section. Interestingly enough, the book From Settler to Landowner, the first Eyre and Devizes Commission for the Eastern District, there was more, a series of those put out by Linda and Gary Korup, and we own quite a few of them, of the early ones. And as far as the illustrated atlas of Ontario County, we've got one of those in our office as well. And we do have an index to the Tremaines map coming up too. If you go at the top of this page, if you go into the general registers, this is at Family Search, this is what will pop up. General Register the index 1853 to 1931, and it gives you the information and the camera to click on. And then you use the index to get to the general registers, in this case available 1854 to 1878, which is not nearly late enough, but we'll take what we can get. And that is what you would get. And a sample of from a copybook is the page below. That is what would appear when you did your searching. So you would go into the catalog under land and property, then under general registers, and quite often they also come up under probate records as well. So 2 different categories. This is just another sample. If you were using the land records, I don't know if you can read it, but it says Township of Whitby, lot number 21 in the broken front, or BF. And the red arrows are pointing to 2 entries that are actually wills that have been mixed in with the land records. In this case, the first top red arrow is 13553 in the first column. Second column says it's a will, and then the 4th column says January 9th, 1860, and the 5th column says Smith, William. So if I go into the general index for Whitby Township, you can see I've got a red arrow down on the right-hand side of the page, and that's Whitby Township, and the numbers of the documents, and 13553 would fit in this time period, which is 1858 to 1860. Click on that, and you will get to the document. You can see the number 13553 and the date of 1860 and William Smith. So voila, that's the final results you would get by following those. Okay. Sorry?
Over to me.
Okay.
Okay. So we also have a lot of maps in our library, and these maps are available at various different levels. You can see we have some district maps, county maps, township maps, and some city and village maps. We have not just for our area, but for portions of Ontario, Canada, and North America, we have maps in our map cabinet. Check our catalog for various titles. And also, don't forget to use Google Maps for the area you are interested in, as many examples have been added to online locations now. Next one. There are 2 wonderful series in the 1800s of cadastral maps available online for free. So Tremaine's maps is 1860-61, depending upon which particular area you're looking at. And the 77 to 78, these are the historical atlases that we are all very used to using. Down below, we put the actual dates for our 2 different counties. So Durham was 61, Ontario County was 1860. Those are the Tremaine maps. And the historical atlases, Ontario County is 1877 and Durham County 1878. The Archives of Ontario has a great collection of Ontario maps that you can arrange to see. You need to check their catalog online. And you may have noticed I used a word cadastral. And what that does is that refers to official public records and maps, which is the Latin cadastris, that document land parcels, including boundaries, shape, size, and the ownership, often for purposes of land valuation, taxation. And so you will, if you've ever looked at the historical atlases, you will see the landowner's name on each particular parcel of land. So cadastral, your word for the day. Next one. And this is an example from a historical atlas. It's from Reach Township, which is southwest corner. In this particular case, the concessions are the Roman numerals going up, if you could use your pointer, Steve, going up the left-hand side. We see concession 1 and concession 2. Across the bottom are the lot numbers. And each lot was 200 acres. So you can see quite often each lot is divided into 2. So a lot of the settlers only got 100 acres. And you will notice that we have all people's, the ownership's names. So this would be in 1877. And it's over to you, Steve.
Okay, another handy reference for researching in Durham Region, newspapers. We have a lot of them online now in broken runs, unfortunately. Bowmanville newspapers run from about 1870s on. Oshawa newspapers, there's a couple of sources, 1850s on. Pickering, Skewgog, Uxbridge, and Whitby. Uxbridge is strictly an index at the moment. Unfortunately, sometimes you have to be careful because the optical character recognition can be a hit and miss some of the time, especially with the older or damaged newspapers. There are links in your handout to see these local free sites. This is just a list of them right here, but you don't have to copy them out. The big thing is Uxbridge newspapers, we do have some of them on a microfilm in our office, but there is an index online, so you can check ahead of time to see which one you want to look up. But that would cover it. And we're back into the indexes. This is our list of some of the indexes that have been published. Cannington newspaper, 1888 to 1910 for births, to 1925 for marriages, and to 1935 for deaths. They're in a booklet format. Clarington, which is the Bowmanville area, 1870s to 1925 were done on microfiche. Oshawa, 1862 to 1871 were in a booklet format for BMDs. Pickering, 1881 to 1899 are available in a booklet format at the office. Skewgog, 1855 to 1985, strictly the births, marriages, and deaths, they're in a booklet format as well. And as we mentioned before, Uxbridge, 1869 to 1899, has an index online. So these are very handy items to get started. And then, of course, if you have an idea what you're looking for, you can continue on or just do a search and pray that the OCR works. And also remember to check the various religious newspapers which may contain references to your relatives. Many of the earlier editions have been published in books, etc. Authors include William D. Reed, Thomas B. Wilson, Reverend Donald A. Mackenzie, etc. So there's a lot of material out there already to start with. Branch Special Collections. We have a collection of early memorial cards, similar to the example there below. We do have an index on our website for the earliest ones. We also have some more recent ones, but due to privacy, we are not putting them up at the moment. We have a collection of obituaries from newspapers that have been clipped out and put into binders. most of our newspaper collection begins about 1982 and run up to the early 2000s, and they can be broken runs. We also have a few indexes or publications for our area, as we mentioned earlier. Local family histories, they're usually identified by a surname or surnames, but not always. See our library collection at ogs.on.ca. Our library list, is mixed in with the OGS library list, but you can dive down to just strictly Durham by selecting that location. Okay, we have a good selection of transcriptions of local United Church records, as well as some other denominations. Again, best to check our library catalog. Some church records are also available online at familysearch.org and Ancestry, etc. For instance, Roman Catholic and Quaker records. Local yearbooks. We have a collection of local yearbooks at the office for Durham Region and a few strays. And we've got over 200 yearbooks now, and it's a very popular collection. We have a lot of people coming in to check them out, just whether they want to find themselves or someone else, it varies. We've already talked about the directories. We have a good collection of local directories and also quite a few Toronto directories and some other strays from across Ontario and one Montreal. And then we have a collection of telephone directories there as well. Again, a lot of Durham, but across Canada and some US ones too. And I believe we actually have one old one for one area of Ireland. I cannot remember which area. Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
So don't forget the General Archives, the Ontario Archives. If you ever get a chance to go there, it's fascinating what they have. And we have several genealogists who do a really good job at finding unique record sets and either indexing them or letting us know about them, including Jane McNamara and Linda Korup. They're the key ones I can think of. So, and Library Archives Canada has some pretty good web collections, and many of them are online. Next, Steve. So there are some other museums and archives that will impact your research. Trent University, which is in Peterborough, but they have these collections for Old Durham County. So we've got Coroner Inquest Index and the Coburg Jail, which is interesting. And that last link has examples of what you can find on their website. And other collections were mentioned previously on the marriage registers. Next.
Nope. Having troubles. It doesn't want to go now. Just there we go.
Okay. Now, this is just a very brief highlight of, and I've put all of these together because they occur in varying combinations throughout our region. So the libraries, museums, and archives. And so this is local resources. The Ajax Library, next slide, Steve. The Ajax Library includes the Ajax Archives. The Beaver River Museum is run by the Beaverton Thora Eldon Historical Society. The Cannington Historical Museum is run by the Cannington Historical Society. So you can see there's quite a different, unfortunately, there's no Durham Region archives. So these bits and pieces are all across the area. Next slide, Steve. Oops, wait a minute, go back one. I've got some notes I forgot to mention. So the Ajax Library has the microfilm of Ontario birth, marriage, and death indexes and historical editions of local newspapers, photographs of Ajax and the surrounding area, marriage and death indexes from local newspapers, and they have a digital archives as well. The Beaver River Museum has historic buildings and artifacts. The Cannington one is, the website's very limited. I couldn't find anything on that one. The Clarington Museums, and it's combined with the Clarington Library. They're in two separate buildings, but run by the same committee, if you want to call it that. So they have a local newspaper. They have surname indexes to those papers. They have cemetery records, most of them ours. And they do displays and events, both in the museum across the road from where I'm sitting right now, and at the library in glass cases. They're very interesting to go and look at what they've recently put up. And that's half a block from me at the library. The Dorothy's Museum, which is run by the Port Hope and District Historical Society, Durham Region, Durham County, is very heavily invested with a lot of family histories from the area. The Oshawa Museum and Archives, they have over 50,000 objects and photographs, and the archives, we've seen them, they've got quite a lot of interesting stuff, but it's only Oshawa. So in our handout, we've got more about them. The Oshawa Library, images of Oshawa, historical documents, newspaper and obituary index. And they have an actual local history and genealogy room that is manned by a history and genealogy librarian, which is kind of nice. A lot of places have downsized out of that. The Pickering Library does have a local history collection and a digital archive, and I believe links over to newspapers. Their local history room is never open. You probably will have to make a special appointment. There is a Pickering Museum Village, Pickering Village Museum, not quite sure which way it goes. They collect what they call material culture, so objects. And what they're interested in is the history of Pickering Township up to about 40 years ago. And they use it in order to understand and interpret the community's past, present, and future. Next sleeve. Sciogog Library in Port Perry. They have a digital newspaper collection, which is very useful. The Sciogog Shores and Museum and Archives is associated with the Lake Sciogog Historical Society, although they don't run the museum and archives. And it's got 11 restored buildings. It's on the actual Sciogog Island. But they do have a lot of archival collection there. Sunderland Museum and Archives I believe it's Brock Township. Huge database of family connections, variety of booklets, maps, cemetery records, and directories from 1818 forward. So that looks very interesting. Run by the Sunderland Historical Society. And next, Steve. So the Uxbridge Historical Center is run by the Historical Society. Artifacts and archives, events, 10 buildings restored, very interesting to visit. But once the previous archivist left, they moved most of the family history and genealogy archives to the Uxbridge Library Genealogy Department. This is primarily manned by volunteers from the Uxbridge Genealogy Group. They have over 150 family histories, microfilm of newspapers, land abstracts, surrogate court records, and birth, marriage, death indexes for Ontario County. They also have vertical files and family folders, a cemetery database, and a newspaper database. So they're very active. The Lindhouse Museum is run by the Whitby Historical Society, and it's a cultural anchor for the community. I'm quoting directly from their website. Events and displays from their collections, occasional workshops and demonstrations. The Whitby Library also hosts the Whitby Archives, digital historic newspapers, local history books have been indexed, and those indexes are online. Over to you, Steve.
Okay, church archives, we've got to mention those. Just a quick run through. These are the websites to the various denominational archives that cover our area. They cover much larger areas than just the Durham region, however. The URLs should be in the handout. So you've got Anglican, United, Presbyterian, Roman Catholic, Quaker, and that's the main archives that we would be dealing with. Okay, we can't forget Ontario Ancestors, aka Ontario Genealogical Society. There's their URL, and Durham Region Branch OGS. There's our URL. A couple of other local websites. We mentioned this earlier, but Barbara Kyle and Peter Bolton's Port Hope website, if you're interested in Port Hope and Hope Township, livingpast.ca, and they have a lot of wonderful information for Hope Township there. There's the early Ontario website by Michael Stevenson, ontariogenealogy.com. They have a lot of useful free indexes on the website, but there is a cost to get a copy of the actual document. Sometimes you can figure out where the document came from and you can look it up yourself if you feel so inclined. Other times it'll cost you a little bit. And again, we also mentioned Bill Martin's Early Ontario website. He's got a lot of all across Ontario information that has been collected over the years that he's put out there. So it's province-wide. They've got transcriptions and sometimes copies of original material. Some miscellaneous websites here, and there's more listed in your handout. But Brian Winter's vertical file collection of Whitby Township is available. Of course, Canada GenWeb, Canadian Geographical, I can't say it. Canadian Geographical Names Database, Canadiana, Cindy's List, all very popular websites to see. And we must mention our collection that be in our branch library. This is just a general outline of what is available. So we have a general reference material, kind of how-to books, how to research in various provinces, countries, and the types of records, how to search certain records and that type of thing. Family histories running from A to Z. District and county marriage register indexes. We've got pretty much the whole collection of those, I believe, in paperback and hardcover. We have a lot of military books, starting with the American Revolution and the UALs, all the way up to the Korean War. Some newspaper indexes, as we've mentioned earlier. some will indexes, again, already mentioned, and a lot of township and locality history books, not only for Old Ontario County and Old Durham County, but for all across Ontario. Okay, here's a few more. We've got a selection of early Upper Canada records. A few of them got mentioned earlier in the presentation. A small selection of material for other Canadian provinces. We've got a good start to the Mayflower and the Great Migration reference material. We've got quite a few early American reference material, which include marriages, biographies, immigration lists, etc., and some reference material and some local newsletters and other things for England, Ireland, Scotland, etc. We've had quite a bit of Cornwall and Devon items donated, as well as Glasgow. And there is other coverage there as well, but those are the ones that come to mind. And you can consult our library list, as mentioned previously, if you want to look for something specific. Photograph collections. We'll just quickly mention the Town of Whitby Archives has photos online at ourontario.ca/Whitby/search. Oshawa has the Bulkley collection. It's on. There's an index online, I believe, for that. And we also have 3 of the books that were published of the Bulkley collection as well. And earlier we mentioned that Ajax has some photographs online. And of course, each museum has their own collection of photographs that may or may not be online. And that concludes everything. Thank you very much. Questions? Are there any?
Let me see if anything's come up in my chat. Nope, I think we've stunned them, Steve.
There's 3 in a chat, but I don't. Oh, that's just you and your handout. Okay.
I have put the handout in a couple of times, so that's good. So barring anybody jumping in right now. Oh, here we go. Cheryl Soper is asking, how do you get an appointment to see the Quaker Cemetery in Pickering? Now, there are 2 Quaker cemeteries in Pickering Township that I'm aware of. One is in Pickering Village, and you just go and walk in the gate. The other one is in Ajax on Highway 2, just east of the Walmart Plaza. It's what's called a Hicksite Quaker Cemetery, or the Brown Cemetery. That one right now, you have to go in a lane to get to the cemetery. But the area in front of the cemetery, between the cemetery and Highway 2, is under construction right now, so you may not be able to get in. Cheryl's added, the one on Mill Street, you just walk in the gate. You do not have to arrange anything. Bob Bell is saying, great presentation and love the handout. Yes, the handout's worth the price of admission. I'll tell you right now, it is a revision of what's on our website under the topic resources. So we're going to get it up on the web probably in the next several weeks. We just have to give it one more look over and then hand it to our webmaster. Heather said, Heather was the one who said about love the handout. Thank you, Heather. Lori, are the wills from around 1950 available somewhere for viewing. She's talking about Thora Township, Beaverton area. Steve, any idea on that particular one?
You said 1950?
1950.
The best thing would be to check the Archives of Ontario website to start with. I don't know for that recent whether they would have them or not.
Yeah.
That's where I would start to look anyways. And it should tell you probably on their website where to look for more recent wills and things like that as well.
Yeah. I think there are some areas that are more recent than others. For some reason, the 1940s seem to hit into my head for a lot of places, but I could be wrong. Peggy Turner, oh, yes, I will repost the handout. Oh, Cheryl's saying the gates are locked at the Mill Street Quaker Cemetery. I haven't been there in a while, but we did stop in there just prior to COVID and had no problem getting in. So we'll have to find out. Across the road, there is a converted Quaker meeting house that was a Masonic hall for a while and has been sort of turned into a historical building showcase place. They may be the ones to contact. Unfortunately, I do not remember the name of the building or who runs it. Last time I was there was no one in the building, so probably would need to find their website. So Laurie says, thanks. I wasn't sure whether, and we're referring to the wills, was too recent. So it may very well be. Okay.
Nancy?
Yes.
Wanda Sinclair has her hand up.
Oh, okay.
Hi, can
Hi,
you hear me?
Wanda. Yes.
I put 2 questions in the question and answer. I couldn't put anything in chat. So I'm going to ask anyway.
Yes.
there
Please
any-
do. Oh, there's Q&A.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that was even, okay. Thank you. Well, do your first one, Wanda, and then I'll do Marcia and Shelley, and then you can do your second one, Wanda. So.
Okay. Can I just say it?
Sure.
Okay. Are there any vital statistics in the towns and townships or museums in the county? In
Okay.
the early time period, first they were done in the towns and townships, and a copy was sent to the provincial government. Now, I know the Simcoe County Archives has some of those records for Simcoe County. So I just wonder if there any for Durham.
Okay. I cannot answer for every town and village. I do have personal knowledge of one registration book for Pickering Township is at the Pickering Library in the local history room, which good luck getting into. And if I remember correctly, it was somewhere for around the 1920s.
Why I know this, because I went to Simcoe 30 years ago, and I lied. I looked at the microfilm at records I was allowed to, and then I ended up looking at births in 1917, which was on the same microfilm. So that's why I know about, hopefully some other townships might have these records.
Well, yes, indeed. I agree with you. I have found stuff at the Ontario Archives under municipal records. So that's one area to explore. And actually that's where a lot of the early census and assessment records are kept at the Ontario Archives for Old Durham County. But as far as knowing, like going to every library and every town hall, we have not done that. So I can't really say anything about that.
Yeah.
Okay, I just
Sure.
thought I asked.
Okay. Skewgog might have some too. I think Janice has mentioned that before. So that might be another place if you're interested in Skewgog Township. You could check with them anyways.
All I know is sometimes the records aren't the same. Some of the records in the town will have the parents' names, while the provincial will not, and vice versa.
I would not be surprised, Wanda. I would not be surprised. Going to Marcia now. Wasn't Port Hope part of Durham at one time? Port Hope was part of Old Durham County. We did not get that during the, I think it was 1974 amalgamation. We only got Cartwright, Darlington, and Clark. But Port Hope is in Hope Township. That one went to Northumberland County and would be theoretically under Kawartha Branch. Okay. And when did Port leave Durham for Northumberland County? Well, about 1974.
Yeah. We included it in our talk simply because we do get questions on it. And of course, there was a lot of travel up and down the lakeshore. A lot of people came originally to Port Hope and then moved a little bit westward into Clark and Darlington. So we did throw in some material about Port Hope and Hope Township into this talk just for that very reason.
Yeah. And Shelley's made a comment, great presentation, and thank you for compiling all this information. You're more than welcome. We actually gave this presentation for the Alberta Family History Society Ontario group a couple of weeks ago. So you're getting a slightly updated in that between those two dates, the Ontario Land Registration Index arriving on archives.org is the new information. And Wanda, you had another one.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that the index in Claritin is called the Newcastle Project Index on microfilm, I think at the Claritin Library, but the Toronto Reference Library had a copy, but last I saw it a year or two ago, and they told me I lost it on them.
Lovely.
We have a couple of copies in our office.
Yeah.
I actually got
don't-
half of it scanned.
Pardon?
When I was at the Toronto Reference, I scanned about half of it.
Yeah. Well, Steve knows what's in the library, and if he says we've got a couple of copies, I believe him.
Yeah. But now those newspapers, or some of the newspapers anyways, are online. So as long as the OCR works, you can go directly to the online newspapers and not
but the index is just as better.
It's a wonderful index. There's no doubt.
Okay, so did I get everybody? 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. Yes. Okay, I got everybody under question and answer. This is the first time I've even noticed there's a question Q&A button.
Well, they've redone this Zoom a certain amount too, which is throwing us off a little bit.
Yes, they have. Where are we here now? I think there's a couple of more. Jim says, great presentation. Can you provide again the reference for the book or register of bastardy declarations? Okay. Go to lindacorup.com. So Linda spelled a normal way. and Corupe is CORUPE.com. She's done all sorts of indexes to all sorts of different record sets at the Archives of Ontario. I think she lives there. And they're for sale. And you will find it under, now what did we actually say? What was the title? Here's the title.
Really and truly the Father?
Yes. Yes, really and truly the Father. I think she's done the Newcastle district / Durham County, Durham and Northumberland County. And she's working on others. She may have another one published by now, but I'm not sure. So
Yes.
that's the questions. I'm just going to, Steve, if you've got comments, go ahead. I'm going to go and post the handout one more time.
Okay. There was one more comment posted by Joyce Denis. I found out my grandma belonged to the Women's Institutes in Tweedsmuir in Altona. I found that the Pickering Library had it online. Okay, that is something good to know.
Yes.
We're going to continue to add to our list as it goes along. We have one or two books in our library collection of the Women's Institutes as well. I do not remember which location, but it should turn up in a search of the catalog.
Okay. Okay, so I will go and share my slides again. And am I allowed to say thank you to Steve at least, if not myself? If you can't download the handout, if you're on like a tablet or a phone or something like that, send me an email tonight or tomorrow and I'll make sure you get a copy. And or you can wait a couple of weeks and we'll have the refreshed copy up on our website under resources. Okay. Now, and here we go again. Here's the library catalog online. And it's at ogs.on.ca/master-catalog, spelled the English way with the UE on the end. And if you want to just look at all our 4,577 line items, you can enter, as you can see in the red box, Durham Region branch. It's actually a drop-down list. I would recommend putting something in the search field as well, because I don't think you want to go through over 4,000 items trying to find something. So you might put Women's Institute in there. Upcoming meetings, our Zoom DNA Special Interest Group will be October 15th. And if you wish to join us, email me at either of these two addresses to go into our private email group. And the reason we keep that private is because we often share our screens, which will show information on living people. I will be sending out the reminder email and the link to the group within the next 5 or 6 days. So get to me quickly. I have set up a year's worth of drop-ins on the Zoom. The new sign-up link is in the Ontario Ancestry events calendar, our homepage, our blog, and it will be up shortly on our Facebook page as well. So if you want to drop in, anything goes. It's conversation, questions, reminiscences, research finds. Some lookups will even be done if you wish. And everybody's welcome. You don't have to be a member to look for some advice or to tell us a story. November 4th will be our annual general meeting, and David Joyner will be showing us ancestral mapping using Google. I can't speak Google today. Google Earth Pro. I want to call it Gurgle. So here's a bit of a description. Family history research gains much satisfaction from discovering and recording information about their relatives and ancestors, but sharing that information in a spatially relevant visual form can be even more rewarding. Google Earth Pro is a free downloadable application with many useful features for genealogists. This webinar will demonstrate how diary details chronicling an immigrant's family's 6-week journey from Ireland to southern Ontario in 1847, at the height of the Great Famine, were mapped using Google Earth Pro. Participants will learn how to add informative place marks and lines on a map, use polygons to highlight regions of interest, run automated tours of mapped points, include image overlays to give context to family history, access historical imagery to link family stories with land surface changes over time, and share and store mapped details. How diary details were turned into a mapping and timeline activity for students will also be explained. And David Joyner was a geography teacher. He's now retired. So I've heard this, and it's absolutely stunning what he's done. The British Isles Family History Society of Greater Ottawa has announced their October 18 and 19 conference is only a few weeks away. The topic is researching the disadvantaged of England and Wales. And let's face it, a lot of us have ag labs, agricultural laborers galore in our backgrounds. It's $50 for non-members and $35 for members of the FISCO. As always, if you found what the branch has been doing and the speakers that we have scheduled are valuable, we invite you to go to our donation button. It's on the left side of our website homepage, and you can make a donation to our branch as you wish. We use this money for the speakers for our meetings. And you get a tax receipt. I'm just not quite sure what the lower limit is before you can get a receipt. And again, feel free to come and see us at our research room library. It's located at Northminster United Church. And make sure you contact Stephen Wood and set up a time so we can be there to open the door to you. And if you send us an email, we can do some lookups for you. So at this point, I'd like to thank everybody. And we have a few minutes we could do, about 20 minutes perhaps, that we could do a chat for anybody who's willing and wishes to ask questions. I'm going to stop sharing. And close that out. And Steve, you could turn on your camera too. And anybody else who wishes to, you can turn on your camera. And what is interesting to you right now, genealogy-wise, was my question. Have you found anything new over the summer? Done a great research trip, maybe heritage travel to your ancestors' homeland? what's going on in your lives. Feel free to turn on your mics. And I'll bring up the chat if you are having trouble. Will this recording be available to non-members? Larry is asking that. Steve and I went back and forth on that today. We'll probably put it on our public YouTube channel. It should be up there in a few days. I will send the recording to our webmaster probably tomorrow morning. So look for it there.
Good, thank you.
You're welcome, Larry. And Larry is from Vernon, BC, so you've got most of your evenings still for you.
Yeah, it's supper time now.
Oh, yes. Well, okay.
You'll be able to put all those links to good use tonight.
Yes.
Yes. As my wife has family that comes from down in that area. And so I come from Perry Sound originally.
Okay.
So
what's the surname?
her surname is Hayes and Bell. She has the old map which has them on it, and I guess it comes from one of the
Historical
atlases.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when we were down there originally, a few years ago now, the concession roads were still marked as concession roads. And now, of course, the whole area has been redeveloped. And now we just have names of streets and so on. But we did get to visit the the site of their of the family farm, and the two farms were back to back, the Bells and the Hayes. So
and so they courted over the back fence.
that seems to be the case.
Yes. What exact area were the farms located in? Do you remember?
No, I'm trying hard to remember it.
Or even the township?
I think it might have been a Whitby. She was. I know we were over in the Scugog, Lake Scugog area, and okay, the name of the town is escaping me.
Port Perry?
Yeah, Port
Columbus.
Perry.
Columbus? Who said Columbus?
I did, Janice.
They were Bible Christian, and she did find a stone in the Bible Christian cemetery.
Okay, that sounds like Columbus.
Yeah, that sounds like right.
Yeah,
It's in that area.
The
Hayes were just north of Columbus, right on Simple Street.
Oh, okay.
Now, there's one little note that I would like to make. There's the compilation of baptisms done in the Methodist Church. It's done by township, and we saw it in the original at the United Church Archives when I was still at the university.
Yes.
But there's an entry in there for Foley. Now, my family they're in the Perry Sound District, Foley Township. And they are all entered under, I think it's under either Whitby or Oshawa.
Whitby.
I think it's under Whitby, which is a mistake. But all the transcriptions I've seen, nobody's picked up on it. So there was confusion between a small village in the township called Foley, as opposed to the township of Foley in Perry Sound District.
Well, now that's interesting to know. Okay.
Yeah. It's McDonald, Van Conant are the families involved.
Well, Conant is a very big name in Old Durham County.
What was that? I'm sorry.
Conant.
Oh, right.
So maybe settlers from this area settled the Foley Township up near Perry Sound.
They were mainly from Lowborough, over by Kingston.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
I got
anyway,
them back there.
Bob Bell is waiting. You have to unmute yourself because he's the one to know the bell from where. So you got your answer, Bob,
Yes.
but you also have a find you want to mention.
I gave them your name.
I might have mentioned it before, but I had a cousin that passed away a couple of years ago, and I got a call from the family handling the estate saying, "There's some stuff here. Would you be interested in it?" And I'm sort of like this, and I says, "Well, I don't want to be greedy, but yes, anything that you," because I knew they had the family Bible, the Bell family Bible, and things like that. I'd seen some of the stuff in the past, and I says, how do we divide this? And she says, nobody else wants it. So I got it all. It had to be sort of set aside for a while. I've just been working on it now, but interesting going through the old pictures. Always, there was a picture and I was pretty sure it was my great uncle. And like a First World War posed picture, but no way I could tell it. And I've seen other images of that pose, but all unidentified. It could be my grandfather who, went over at the same time. Well, there was one picture in a very overly secure frame and taped and this and that. And it had the same picture. And I thought, should I bother or should I not? So of course I bothered. I took it all apart very carefully. So I went, and when you know it, on the back of it, he'd signed his name.
Oh,
That was sort of like, wow, because I have among the stuff was his First World War medals and his dog tags. And yeah, so to me that was wow. So I've got his handwriting, his photo and signed photo and all that. For me, it was a wow day. Also postcards that both he and my grandfather had really nice handwriting. My great uncle writes like I do. But just interesting. But one other thing I came across, and a tip for everybody, I came across some stuff. Another great uncle married a Ukrainian. And there's some typewritten stuff from the 1960s in Cyrillic script, typed sort of like on a tissue type paper. And the typewriter's going up and down and all that. And I thought, oh, lots of fun that's going to be. Now, I showed it briefly to some Ukrainian people I know, and they sort of verified its family history. So even though it wasn't mine, I decided to pursue it. Use your cell phone. You take a picture of it and put it into Google Lens, and it translates it for you. I can't swear to the accuracy, but there was actually 2 pages that told the same story, or 2 booklets, there was a couple pamphlets that told the same basic story in a wee bit different order. And the stories came out basically the same. So I took that as a sign that the translation was pretty good.
Oh.
I was going to have to, maybe inveigle on a friend to translate this for me. There's some confidential family stuff in there for this other family. I didn't want to necessarily put it out there. at this point, but yeah, very, very handy tool, and it was just absolutely instant.
Okay, I'm putting that in the chat, everybody.
Yeah.
Google Lens, it's called.
Yes. I also used it, you know, oh, a local author I know had a copy of a book written by a friend who died with no relatives. He wanted to put it back out there available electronically. That was a few years ago, and I actually, now that was English to English, but I had just photographed the whole book and put it into Google Lens and changed it into text. And I had to do a wee bit of cleanup on it. The book wasn't in 100% condition, but it was very good. The friend then did the reformatting and all that for it, but very handy tool.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah.
Okay, Anne has her hand up.
Hello. Okay, I just recently, Dan and I went to my high school reunion, and there were lots of people there with yearbooks that were, looking each other's pictures up and things like that. And it reminded me that, we should remind people that the branch is still collecting more of these yearbooks and would be happy to have some donated if they're from this area. And most of the other branches are also collecting them because of the project that was started a few years ago. And while I was at the reunion, I didn't find any genealogy about my ancestry, but I did hear several interesting anecdotes about my brothers and sisters that I didn't know. So that's, yeah.
Well worth going to, yes. And yes, we have a list on our website under resources, I believe, or projects. I'm not quite sure. Listing the editions that we already have in our collection. So if you have a book you want to, a yearbook you want to donate to our branch library, check there to see. And if we don't have it, we'd love to have it. How many books do we have now, Steve? You need to unmute.
Oh, I think he said over 200.
It's over 200, but I
Yeah.
think it's actually around 250, but I got to admit, that's
Okay.
could be rough.
Yeah, a rough
estimate.
estimate. Yeah. It's amazing what we've managed to get together. Not the least of which is Dan DeLong going to the mission stores and buying books for us.
Yeah.
So,
And Brian Winter started us off nicely as well.
yeah. Yeah. Okay. Oh, Jim's got his hand up and you'll need to unmute. There you are.
We moved my father-in-law out of his house at the age of 93 this past summer. And as a white blob in the basement, I came across the 1909 Lotus Methodist autograph quilt for the Methodist Church. So I'm working on transcribing it by quadrant. You never know what you're going to find.
Wow.
What area? Like what?
For Amber's, for
Oh,
Lotus.
wonderful.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah. So
There's a Members Historical Society.
there is, yeah. I'm have to try and figure out who all the people are. And fortunately, being 1909, you can kind of map it to the 1911 census. So that's a bit of a challenge, I guess. For some reason, it looks like whoever put the most money into the ladies' aid quilt from 1909. And I guess whoever must have been a family member of my wife's, because it's that must have given the most amount of money. So I have to figure out how much find the dollar values associated with it, because on the quilt they say how much money you donated in the different circles. So it's to the ladies' aid. So I've got a little bit of work to do to figure out what to appropriately do with it. But it was sitting in a basket, sitting in the basement. Actually, it got wet because there was a bit of a leak in the basement before this place was sold off. So it's been looked after well right now. But it's a work in progress. Maybe I'll give an update in December about where I'm at with the transcription.
Sounds interesting.
Yeah.
I recommend a column for what they paid and what that's worth in today's money.
Exactly. We'll use the CPI, like the price index, to figure out what it was worth. There are some people, somebody's donated like, I think $50. There's some ridiculous amounts of money from 1909 that were like, I don't know if it's $50. I think maybe $5. I have to look at the decimal places and pay more attention to it as I work through it. But yeah, it's a definite project for Excel. Yeah.
Yes, it sounds really interesting. I bet the Manvers Historical Society, if they've got a physical area, would love to have it.
Absolutely, yeah. I have to check with the family powers that be. It happens to be in my possession, but but it is not my genetic side of things. It's my wife's and my children's, but it's from the Greys, the Shackletons, and the McCabe's and McCrae's from up in Manvers. So I have to find the oldest living Grey, and if there's one of 6 kids, it's a little bit of work to do. Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
I agree. That's where it should be. Yes.
Well, you'll have to write us up an article for Kindred Spirits.
There you go. Well, yes.
The Lake Skugog Historical Society is putting together a book about heritage quilts, and they've come across many similar. And I know that Diane Carnahan at the Manvers Historical Society has also been rather interested. So she might just even like to know about it.
Yeah, I will for sure. So in Manvers Historical Society, I'm on their Facebook page, so I'll go backwards against that and let them know I've got it, that I all of a sudden showed up. Yeah, these things that just kind of show up 100 and some years later.
Any Glennies or Thompsons?
I don't think so. I haven't got through that far yet. I've been focusing more on the immediate family members, but I will keep an eye out for anybody, and hopefully if I work hard at it and actually stop doing DNA on my free time and trying to find dead people through DNA, I will I'll make a better effort of transcribing it for the meeting on the 4th. Is it 4th of December? I'll have to. When was the show and tell?
November, and the show and tell was
when was the show and tell? Okay.
First Tuesday.
Okay. Tuesday. I will work towards getting it done and getting the pictures. Okay.
I happen to have a quilt rolled up in an old sheet in the corner behind me with a little note pinned on it. My mother was a quilter.
Okay.
And she obviously entered some of the family quilts into some sort of display. Well, it's got a little note on it, says, made by Dawn, my father's grandmother, with her pension check. She would go and buy enough material to do several squares for his baby quilt.
Yeah.
And it's heavy velvet.
Yeah, I have one of my great aunts made me a baby quilt, and I've got to find out whether it's in my house, which is kind of an abyss, or whether or not it's in my parents' house. But it is. It was started by one, and then the great aunt passed away, and the other one finished it. Apparently, actually, what's more important is actually getting my father to write down the story that goes along with it, because mine is obviously highly incomplete as to how this thing was created and which of the great aunts. I think it was Aunt Mabel. I think there's a picture of me and Aunt Mabel in 1968 or so. So maybe I should put all that stuff together as well. The world of quilts, which is something I'm a new area of interest. So,
yeah. I know one gal in Port Perry, Carnegie. Oh, forgotten her first name. Sorry, older brain here. Who was quite involved with a quilt group up that way. I don't know if Janice would know.
Yeah, it was
Alice Carnegie.
Yeah, it was, I guess, fairly popular within the Methodist Church, because I was reading about it in my Canadian Methodist Women 1766 to 1925, right? text that I have, and it's like how they were, I guess money was raised and such for the church, I think, from what I've
understood. They did quilting bees.
Yeah, quilting bees too. Yeah.
Quilting bees. The ladies groups, various groups would get together and work on a quilt and sell shares like for a square.
Yeah.
And that's how they raised money. And they did it all through First World War too, for raising money for the troops too.
Yeah.
So Nancy?
Yes.
I have something to say that's about the quilts. It's not a genealogical thing, but so my Dan's great grandmother and her sister and a couple of other relatives worked on a quilt which they signed, but they never got it quilted.
Okay.
Right? Okay, they got the top done, but they never got the stitching done. And so we inherited that, and it had been kept in an airtight container. But that's not good for quilts. If you have a quilt that you want to last, I know it's done that way to keep bugs out, right? But the problem is there's they're cotton, and there's sort of anaerobic things that will just destroy the cotton if it's always kept airtight. It needs to be hung or something. And this one now can't be quilted. It's too fragile. It's just falling apart. So,
well, better get Dan to do his overhead camera and take pictures.
Yes. Well, we thought we'd get it quilted, but what my mom, who's a quilter, was going to do it, but they laid it out and they said that they would just crumble it if they tried to stitch it. So
yeah. Well, though, you got to get those signatures.
Oh yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Put that in there. Anybody else? I noticed there's still other people, although they haven't turned on their cameras. If you are too shy, you can write a comment in the chat to me, and I will read it out for you, or you can be brave and turn on your mic and talk to us. My latest thing, which I don't often get a chance to, was I was playing with full text search on familysearch.org, and I found a land record for a great grandfather in a place I'd never known he had purchased land. And so that was my little excitement. And it involved both himself and his son. So I had Walter Sr. and Walter Jr. So Walter Burns Sr. and Jr. both mentioned, both signing this particular land deed, which was pretty exciting for me. And I wish I had time to go back and find more.
Where was the land, Nancy?
It was in the stuff I'd already found for him was Dalhousie Township, Lanark County.
Okay.
And okay, give me 1 second. I have to have it on my desktop. I just have to close a bunch of things here.
Because I've been doing the same thing, right? Trying to find Lanark County records, but and then the migration of people from Lanark across into Peterborough, and the movement of the original settlers at the Lanark settlement, and then from the Scotch line, and then they're all showing up in Peterborough. But it's those land records that we're using the new AI guided free text stuff in Family Search.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Because that's how I was finding stuff too.
Fitzroy Township.
Okay.
Okay. Lot number 14 in the fourth concession of the Township of Fitzroy in the district of Bathurst.
Bathurst. Okay.
So pre-Lanark County.
Pre-Lanark. Okay.
Yeah. And then we've got Walter Burns Sr. writing at the bottom, I, the undersigned, Walter Burns, do hereby certify that the location ticket which I obtained for the east half of lot number 14, blah, 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 has been lost. So I guess they were re-registering it under Walter Burns Jr. So that was interesting for me anyway. Yeah. My Burns and Dohertys were military settlers in Lanark County from the Napoleonic Wars. They were gunners in the Royal Artillery. So, and got pensions for it
Got
too.
pensions. Yeah.
Probably because they were deaf.
Yeah.
So
And that was my first fun trip. I've had 3 conferences in Ottawa, and I have driven to Ottawa rather than take a flight so that I could go to Perth, Ontario.
yeah.
And that's the new preferred route to go to conferences in Ottawa. No more of train or anything. Go and spend the afternoon in Perth hunting around.
Yeah. Many, many years ago, I did some research in the library of the college in Perth.
Mm-hmm.
They had a lot of records.
Okay.
And there's also now a Lanark County Archives. I'm dating myself here.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's now probably close to its 25th anniversary. Out in the township somewhere northeast of Perth.
Okay.
So,
That can be my next drive to Ottawa.
yeah. Okay. Yeah. I believe the Lanark County Genealogical Society. Yes, I think that's their actual title. Helps man the archives.
Mm-hmm.
So if you look up their website, you'll get more information.
Cool.
Okay. Anybody else have a comment, story, question? Oh, Anne's waving her hand again.
Yes, I can't remember whether you mentioned the township papers.
Steve did briefly.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. I did a search on the handout and nothing came up, so maybe I did it bad. Maybe I did it badly.
No, Steve, you have to make sure the township papers, they are available at familysearch.org.
Well, it could be that I misspelled something or whatever, but anyway, because I found some quite interesting stuff about Dan's family, my husband Dan's family, in the township papers that I was not able to find from another source.
And yeah, I've heard that. All these little miscellaneous pieces of paper that mention a lot in concession.
Well, because of the
Anything.
Because of the assessment rolls, we knew that lot in the concession, but almost nothing else about, it gives their name and 8 people in the family, but so and then they were gone. So this told us where they went and why. So it was very interesting.
Yeah. I got a comment from Chris. He says, great meeting. This information will help me find my wife's ancestors from the Vroomington area. That's up in North Durham. Not quite sure whether it's Reach or Scott Township. Haven't got that memorized. Yes. Stephen, are you sorting through the handout there?
Looking, yeah, we didn't put much in about land. We did mention it in our presentation and where to look for it, I believe, but it is not in the handout too much. No.
Okay, well, we've got to put it in so it makes it up on our resource page.
Yeah. Yeah.
We
No,
can find the links directly to Old Ontario County and Old Durham County, perhaps.
As I recall, it was tricky to find the right information. We had a presentation on it, and you had to do exactly what was on the slide. You know.
well, it's actually under Ontario. It's not under the county level. It's under Ontario, and then you go into land
Yeah.
and property, and then it's actually listed on the second half. I think you actually have to hit see more, and then in the next.
Yeah.
And to make it worse, A to H is the bottom. They split it in half, but A to H is the bottom half entry, and H to Z is the top entry. So it's even confusing that way.
Oh boy. Okay. So Anne, we'll have to look at it and get it into at least the resource section.
Sorry.
Yeah. Well, good catch.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've got two things, Steve. The Tweedsmuir histories and the township papers we've got to get up there.
Yeah, that's worthwhile putting in, that's for sure.
Yes. Well, we're past our time. I thank everybody who stayed for the chat. It'd be, if I may be a little bit pushy, it'd be nice to be able to see people's faces and have everybody participate. But maybe next month we'll have time for that.
Oh,
thank
Sheila.
you, Sheila. Hi. And but I'm going to end the Zoom now and get this recording rendering so I can get it to Dan for the website. Okay. Thanks, everybody. Good night.
Good night, everyone.